So what's going on, guys? My name is Mr. Dalek JD, and today I have some incredible storyline information to present to you for the future of Black Ops 3 Zombies. With the story message that has just been discovered in Der Eisendrache, this can lead us to a possible DLC map location as well as storyline, as well as give us a ton of backstory to one of our 4 characters which we haven't heard a lot from in a while, and that is TAKEO Misaki. Now, there's been a common theme with Black Ops Zombies maps where around the map there'll be scraps of paper which, when formed together, create an image. We had this in Mob of the Dead, we had this in Origins, we had it in The Giant, as well as Shadows of Evil, and Der Eisendrache is no different. In Shadows of Evil, the scrap pieces of paper around the map formed a Richtofen diary entry which gave us some locations for future maps, including The Giant and Der Eisendrache, and there's 2 other locations as well, one I'm going to speak about in this video. But in Der Eisendrache, there are scrap pieces of paper around the map, but when formed together don't actually make an image, but it actually makes a message written in Japanese. Now, we only have one character in our crew who is Japanese, and that is TAKEO Misaki, and this letter is written directly from TAKEO, and this is extremely exciting. This was a huge community group effort to find all of these different scrap pieces of paper, because exactly like Shadows of Evil, some of them are much harder to find than others. So a huge thank you goes to Bosnian and DrazV2 over on the COD Zombies Reddit, as well as a multiple group of people from the Call of Duty Zombies forum. I'll put their names down below in the description because there is a lot of names to mention, as well as a Reddit user called Ixanimus. I'm pretty sure I've butchered the pronunciation of that, but if it wasn't for him, this wouldn't have been translated, because Bosnian put that in the translation Reddit to get someone to translate it from Japanese into English, and this is the long message we get. So strap yourselves down, get your popcorn, this is an awesome one. So the letter reads, "To my beloved and respected Emperor, several months have passed since I last received orders, and I cannot help but admit that I'm at my wit's end. Since I landed on the island, being my foolish self, I've been continuing inspection and recording of the activities carried out by the 9th Division. Nevertheless, in spite of mine being under your Majesty's direct command, the division has begun questioning my intentions. To this end, I am now restricted entry and exit from the majority of the research areas. Even now, the situation is only growing worse. The commanding officers of the facility has ordered me to hand over my weapons for the duration of my stay. Had I not been shown the order to maintain order, marked with your Majesty's own esteemed seal, I would have voiced my objections. Never once have I brought even a shred of doubt upon your Majesty's judgment, but I feel concerned that these conditions may pose a great hindrance to the success of my mission. I'm well aware of how crucial our alliance with the Germans is to our great cause and eventual triumph. However, the influence of the German forces operation group named Group 935 has increasingly become nothing but a cause for worry. For many months, their number of officers has been increasing, and I cannot help but think that it is these officers who are spurring on the plan. As far as I've been able to discern, the research carried out by the 9th Division is far beyond the realm of normal accepted practice. In fact, I can't describe those aberrant weapons research methods as anything but abnormal. Not only are they using prisoners of war as mere guinea pigs, the troop is trying to control even the supernatural powers hidden within Element 115. On these grounds, I feel that if we continue to allow them to do as they please, dark clouds loom ominously ahead for our great nation. I'm doing my utmost to continue observing and reporting, but with all due respect, I'm already well aware of the 9th Division's intentions, and in order to figure out the extent of the influence this will have on the outcome of the war, I deem your Majesty's direct influence to be absolutely essential. I beg of you, I hope you will find it in you to respond to my humble request. Your devoted servant, TAKEO Misaki." Now that is what you call a really cool hidden storyline message. That is phenomenal. We're going to break this down and try and make a little bit more sense of this, but we need to look at what Division 9 are. He's referencing this quite a lot, and I've made a video very recently talking about Division 9 in a few other ciphers. We know that Division 9 is a separate entity to Group 935. They are a completely separate group that are working to achieve very similar goals to Group 935, but with this letter, it seems like the kind of goals that they're out to to get are not exactly on the same wavelength as Group 935. Now, there's another cipher around Der Eisendrache which says, after the success at the Rising Sun facility, Division 9 is moving with Phase 2. The island facility is now operational and initial testing underway. And in this message, we have another reference to the island facility. Now, in a radio message from Dr. Groff, it seems Division 9 are a separate group to 935 who are developing some really interesting weaponry. Now, this weaponry that they're developing is kind of very strange, and even Dr. Groff didn't agree with it, which is, if that's the case, then this obviously has to be something quite weird. Now, these two groups are working together in the story of the Eisendrache with Dr. Groff anyway, because Dr. Groff wants to secure the outcome of the war. Now, it seems a lot of the story with Dr. Groff and this group anyway is relating a lot to what happened in World War II. Bear in mind, we're now on a separate timeline to the original events of World War I Black Ops 1. We can have this influence of World War II, which Treyarch seem to be going with quite well. And with TAKEO mentioning specifically about the research that this 9th Division are carrying out is beyond the realm of normal accepted practice. He describes their weapon research methods as anything but abnormal. They're using prisoners of war as mere guinea pigs, and they're even trying to control troops with the use of the supernatural powers within Element 115. This sounds very similar to a unit which was part of the Imperial Japanese Army called Unit 731. They were covert biological and chemical warfare research unit of the Imperial Army that undertook lethal human experimentation during the Second Sino-Japanese War of World War II. And it was responsible for some of the most notorious war crimes carried out by Japan. The way Takeo's describing this division sounds very, very similar to Unit 731 in World War II, who would go and do crazy activities such as vivisections, frostbite testing, and even syphilis. Just a brief description of some of those is vivisections, where they would perform these on prisoners where they'd cut open their bodies and remove organs whilst they were still alive. Prisoners would have limbs amputated in order to study blood loss, and sometimes the limbs that were removed were reattached to opposite sides of the body. It's just hard to even imagine that that stuff really happened during World War II. It's absolutely disgusting. And with the kind of story influence of that in zombies, it sounds like Division 9 are doing something very similar, which TAKEO, of course, does not want to be a part of. Now, the main thing from this letter that we need to take is it seems like TAKEO was sent to this island facility as a spy for the Emperor. This is really intriguing because we've not heard a lot of TAKEO's storyline. We know of his backgrounds and what happened with Origins, but we've not really had this much of a kind of expansion on the individual character storyline like this in a long time, and I'm really excited that there's this hidden story with TAKEO. Now, we know that TAKEO has been very honourable and loyal to the Emperor, and we can go even far back to our very first time being introduced to TAKEO, which is actually from the letters from the field, which he wrote October 6th, 1917. The Emperor grows concerned that the barbarians' drive for mechanization may soon yield weapons more devastating than anything the world has ever known. I'm honoured to act as his trusted agent and will ensure that any such weapons are secured for the benefit of Japan. And this is exactly what TAKEO is doing here. He literally is working as the Emperor's trusted agent and has gone to this island facility as a spy to see what's going on. Now, I did mention at the start of the video talking about the future of DLC for Black Ops 3 Zombies, and I'm pretty sure we have a ton of hints now towards a map that we could be getting possibly in the next DLC, if not the 3rd or 4th DLC. And this is talking about the island facility, specifically being on an island called Pompeii. Now, you might be thinking, how do I know that it's going to be on Pompeii? Well, if we look in Shadows of Evil at Richtofen's diary scrap, there are a ton of locations in coordinates. One of those coordinates leading to Der Eisendrache, it led us directly to the hills just below where Hohenwerfen Castle actually resides in Austria. There's another location which takes us to the Giant, and there's another location which takes us to Pompeii. Now, Pompeii is a really small remote island which belongs to the Pompeii state and is one of the 4 states in the Federated States of Micronesia. This island is literally in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific Ocean. Funnily enough, in 1914, the Empire of Japan claimed Pompeii. The island was taken with a significant show of force, but without a single shot fired, and would remain a territory of Japan until the conclusion of World War II in 1945. Now, it's very clear to see that Der Eisendrache takes place during World War II, so it's clear to say that Pompeii in the current time of the zombie storyline is remaining a territory of Japan. Now, at some point during our alternative characters and their journey so far, Takeo actually went to this island place to kind of act as a spy for the Emperor. Now, we're not sure when exactly Takeo done this, but we now know he definitely has done so. Breaking down this letter piece by piece, we can appear that Takeo is super loyal to the Emperor, and he writes that it's been several months since he's last received orders from the Emperor, and he cannot help but admit that he's at his wit's end. So he's trying to be as polite as possible because, of course, he respects and honors the Emperor, but he's very disappointed and almost like at the point of breaking point that he's not heard anything from the Emperor before. Now, it didn't take long for the 9th Division to really suss out what Takeo was doing on the island, became very suspicious of his intentions, so they restricted him from entering and exiting any of the major research areas. They've even gone as far as to take his weapons away from him. It's clear from the offset that Takeo has never wanted to take part and become part of the 9th Division because of the true brutality of the actions that this division is taking. You guys can voice your own opinion on this, but as we get through the letter and they speak about how the commanding officers removed his weapons, had I not been shown the order to maintain order marked with your majesty's own seal, I would have voiced my objections. It sounds like at this point that the Emperor has decided to go forth with the actions of what Division 9 are doing, and Takeo does not agree with it. It's only through Takeo's dedication with respect to the Emperor that he decides to not voice his own objections, because he has to maintain order as the Majesty has told him to do so. Now, I mentioned earlier about how Dr. Groff and Group 935 are working in cooperation with Division 9, and Takeo says he's well aware of how crucial that alliance is for the great cause and eventual triumph of the war, but he's becoming increasingly worried. For many months, the number of officers within Group 935 have been increasing, and Takeo can't help but think that it's these officers who are spurring on the plan. Now, we don't know what exactly whose plan he's talking about or what plan, so that's something that we could see in the foreseeable future. Now, I spoke about the similarity between Division 9 and Unit 731 in World War II with the disgusting activities that took place, but another activity that this division seemed to be doing is using the supernatural powers hidden within Element 115 on prisoners of war. Now, to me, that sounds directly like the 9th Division are trying to create their own undead army, which is never a good thing. All this letter is trying to say is Takeo is almost screaming out for the influence of the Emperor to kind of guide him on where he wants to go next. He understands the intentions of this 9th Division, but in order to figure out the extent of the influence this will have on the outcome of the war, he needs the Emperor's direct influence. Now, this just shows the true deep honour and respect that Takeo has for the Emperor, and he's always had this because he came from a noble family who was close enough to the Emperor's household. He also believes that failure brings great dishonour and shame to his ancestors. This is referenced in a radio on the Giant, and even in his second letter from the field, he says, "I'm haunted by twisted dreams that seem to grow increasingly vivid with each passing night. Perhaps the spirits of my ancestors seek to warn me of a dark, uncertain future." Takeo has this certain foresight into what can happen in the future, and this island facility is definitely something that we're going to be seeing. Now, a theme which we are definitely going to see throughout these maps is we're going to be collecting the souls of the original characters. We've already got Richtophens, and in Der Eisendrache we got ourselves Dempsey, so it makes sense that the next two maps are going to involve Nikolai and Takeo. Now, it's almost 100% given here that this island map is somehow going to contain our original Takeo, which we are then going to collect his soul. Now, there is a cipher on the Giant which spoke about the mountain must be searched for the frozen one. We initially thought it had to do with ice, but we literally didn't even think about a frozen Dempsey being frozen in that kind of test chamber. And we have another one which directly references Takeo. In the cell below the waves is where honor suffers. Now, this island is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's surrounded by nothing but water, and if it's mentioning honor suffers, it's blatantly talking about Takeo Masaki, which could be that our test subject version of Takeo is hidden in a cell below the waves. Let me know what you think of all of this down below in the comment section. I thought this was an extremely interesting video to discuss all of this, and this map is just absolutely amazing in terms of storyline. We're still finding brand new things every day, and this this was the one that has definitely given us a ton of backstory on. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like rating, I really would appreciate it, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe as I'll bring you a ton of other storyline videos similar to this one. But thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.